Hey guys, it's Camera Review for the second and actually final season of the Amazon original series Fleabag. And what the season essentially about is we pick up roughly a couple years after the events of the first season. Things between Fleabag and her family, they're kind of tense right now. They're not really in that great of a place. But basically, Fleabag, she's trying to take more accountability. She's trying to process certain things in her life that she's sort of repressed. And hopefully, that can now get her on the path towards happiness and fulfillment. And that's really all I'm going to say. So, Fleabag Season 2, obviously I was very excited for the season, but I was also a little bit worried. As you guys know from my anticipated video, I talked about this before. I adored the first season. The first season came out of nowhere for me. I didn't really think it was going to be that great, but I watched Season 1 and I thought it was just absolutely fantastic. It was a really great portrayal of grief and loss and regrets and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I mean, she came out of nowhere, and the star that she has become today, I mean, it is just absolutely incredible. And it's crazy to think that, you know, there was a time when she wasn't as well known as she is now. I mean, now she is Killing Eve. She was in Solo. I mean, she really has made a name for herself. But season 1 was so self-contained, and it told such a great story that I honestly didn't know what else they could do in season 2. I didn't really know if it was necessary. I didn't even know if it was really going to happen. Once it was announced, though, I was pretty much on board with it. But again, I still had a little hesitation just because I didn't know if we really needed it. And after watching season 2, I have to say, we absolutely did need it. This season is fantastic. It is a very good way of closing out the Fleabag story and everything that has really come before it, but it also ties up a lot of other loose ends that you might not have expected them to, which I will talk about later in the video. But let's just get into right now, starting off with the cast. And honestly, in terms of acting, I think some of these actors honestly stepped up their game here. Of course, though, the person that carries this entire show is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and she is just as good, if not better, this time around, because this is a Fleabag who is more aware of where she's gone wrong. She is trying to get better in her life. She's trying to explore other possibilities, and I really did love seeing that. But she also is very desperate to turn things around. You know, she's trying to do whatever she can to come to terms with certain things. And there's one episode in particular where she has this monologue, and just that scene alone just showcases why I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is one of the best actresses working today. It's so raw, it's so emotional, and just the way she's able to convey certain emotions, sometimes without any dialogue, I think is fantastic. And I really love what she was able to do here. You can tell how much passion Bridge has for this character, since she did actually come up with it on her own, and you definitely do see that here. And just in general, the way things do close out, I mean, she definitely gave it her all, and I know she's probably not going to be recognized, unfortunately, for the Emmys. I don't remember if she was for the first season, but she absolutely should here, because I truly do think she's one of the best working out there right now, and I hope after this show she continues to get more work, which she has been, but I want her to get even more work after this season, because it just reminds you how great of an actress she really is. Someone else who really stepped up their game, though, this season is Sian Clifford as Claire, who I really liked in the first season. I thought she definitely was really good, but she was basically the straight man, if you will, to Fleabag. She was someone who you could tell there was a lot that was going on with her, but she was very calm for the most part. Claire, this season, is a lot more different. These two, there's a lot of bad blood between them. They're trying to maintain a healthy relationship, but at the same time, because of certain things that have resurfaced, Claire is not having the greatest relationship with her sister, but she also is going through her own personal struggles, and especially in the back half of the season, she really demonstrates a capability that I knew she had, but I thought she really did up her game this season, and I really love what she was able to do, where she ends up going, she probably changes the most dramatically out of everyone this season, and I really did love seeing that. I thought she just did an excellent job here. I was very impressed by her work. As far as the rest of the cast goes, everyone else does a really excellent job here. Andrew Scott is a great addition as this character of the priest, someone who Fleabag, you can tell, does have genuine feelings for, but obviously because of his affiliation, she's a little tentative on what she really wants to do there, but I thought he did an excellent job. Olivia Colman is great, as usual. Bill Paterson did a really great job. Brett Gelman, I mean, holy shit. This character, you honestly hate him more, especially now that you know more of who he is and how much of a slime ball he really is. you honestly hate him more here than you did in the first season, but goddamn, he does such an excellent job at playing this character, and I loved what we got from him. One scene in particular that I do honestly think is Emmy worthy, and I was very impressed by his work here. And like I said, for me, I think he really did step up his game. Really, this entire cast, they just work so well together, and even smaller roles like, say, Fiona Shaw or Kristin Scott Thomas, who don't have a lot to do, they still bring a very memorable performance to the table, and I really cannot praise this cast enough. It's a lot, again, it really says a lot that you can do so much with this cast with doing so little, and I think they did a very good job with it. A lot of the cast here, no, they don't have a lot of challenging work, but they still do bring a lot to their performances, and I was very impressed by them here. But now let's get to the directing and the writing. Now, in terms of directing, I don't have a lot of different things to say. I will say this season, it's a little bit more positive than season 1. Now that Fleabag is starting to remember things, and she's starting to not, hold back things like she was in the first season, you can tell that she's trying to be a little more positive. She's trying to get back on good terms with her sister. She's trying to have a healthy relationship, and they do a good job with that. But what I liked about this season is that it does retain the same tone as the first one. I mean, Fleabag's life, yeah, she is in sort of a, state of confusion at the moment. She wants to move forward, but she also is very distressed about things, and I thought that was handled very well. The show is still just as hilarious, especially one moment in episode 3, this recurring gag that definitely got a good laugh out of me. And there's many moments for the show, and they do a good job with that. But the show does tackle a little bit more dramatically. And it's not that it didn't in the first season, but obviously because Fleabag isn't repressing as much, there is always a more darker element to what's going on. And I thought they did a really good job with that. They could have easily made it darker and scaled back on the comedy, but thankfully it is still both. This is very much a dramedy. It's the core definition of one, and thank God for that, because the show is still able to be very insightful, but also uproariously funny and entertaining, and I thought they did a really great job with that, and I really do love the directing here. It's just, again, I've said it before, it's a hard tone to maintain. Obviously, it seems easy, but the way that, Harry Bradbury directs this series, I just thought he's done an excellent job with it, and it's definitely better than most, for sure, in terms of comedies, and I was overall very impressed by it. But the writing also is what really did impress me with the season, because like I said, going into season 1, that was my biggest fear. I didn't really know if this season there was a lot that they could really do, but there is still a lot that they can do, especially when it comes to Fleabag, who, like I said before, she spends the bulk of the season basically trying to, find that happiness, trying to fulfill herself, trying to move on from certain events in her life. She still does have Boo's death on her. She still is very much feeling guilt for that. She still is feeling a lot of remorse towards that, and she doesn't really know how to process that. She still is reeling with, and this again, this is spoilers for season 1 if you haven't seen it, of course, but she is still reeling from the fact that, Claire's husband does have feelings for her, and she feels bad because of that. She now is trying to get into a relation with someone, but that person happens to be a priest. So again, there's a sense of, you definitely feel a sense of positivity in Fleabag, but you also constantly feel bad for her because there's still a lot that is weighing on her, and you really do see that it's something that she feels, she's just kind of, she feels like she is tethered to. She can't seem to get away from all of this insurmountable amount of grief, and I thought they definitely handled that quite well, and especially bringing in the character of Andrew Scott, someone who is able to get her to confront some of that darkness in her life and get her to hopefully move on from it, was really great to see, and I thought they did a really good job at building their relationship as well. They're able to do it in 6 episodes in ways that shows that have like 10 episodes aren't able to do, and I was very impressed by that. There's really only like 2 episodes that are solely devoted to those two, but they do a really great job with getting you to understand this is why Fleabag wants to be with this priest. It's not just because, oh, it's a joke because, he's a priest and she's an atheist. It goes far beyond that. There's something that he has that she feels they have this connection. And I thought they did a very good job with establishing that, for sure. However, my favorite stuff this season by far is basically where they end up going with her and her sister Claire, because the two of them, in the beginning of the season, there is a event that occurs. I'm not going to say what it is because it is honestly pretty shocking, but there's this event that occurs, and the way that Fleabag kind of helps out Claire, you can see that these two, they feel they owe this debt to each other. They're trying to maintain a better relationship, but again, there is still a lot of bad blood there. There still is stuff that just isn't completely resolved, and I really loved where they end up going. They expand a lot more upon that particular relationship. Why Claire feels the way she does towards Fleabag, who Claire really is, why she is stuck in this terrible marriage, why hasn't she tried to get out of it. That's something that is explored this season, and I really did love what they were able to do with that. They take that character to a lot more places emotionally, and they explored many other avenues with her that I was not expecting, but I really did appreciate that. This season, honestly, is just as much about Claire as it is about Fleabag. Now, obviously, it is still in Fleabag's perspective. They still do a good job with that. They keep the focus on her. We see the world through her eyes. She will frequently break the fourth wall, which is actually a recurring joke this season, since the priest is the only one that actually, notices her doing that, which I thought was really funny. But they still do take a lot of time to flesh out, Claire as a character, and I really did love seeing that, and I thought it worked very well for this season, and that's something I definitely was not expecting. And something else I thought they did very well is some of the supporting cast this season. We do actually get to see a few familiar faces who I thought we weren't ever going to see on the show again, but they interweave them into the story, and I was worried at first that it was going to feel like they felt they had to do this because they were contractually obligated to appear, and they had to find a reason for them to be there, but they really don't. They actually give very good reasons as to why we still need to see these characters, and they're not there for very long. Like, certain characters, that were in the first season, they're not really a big part of this season at all, but they do make at least one or two appearances, and it works. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this character's here because we need to keep them on the show. I hate when shows do that. I mean, you want to know when to get rid of certain characters, and gratefully, this show knows when to do that. They know what characters they want to focus on and what characters aren't a part of this show anymore. But again, they still do give time for those characters, and since this is the final season, it makes sense to bring certain characters back, and I thought they did a really good job with that here for sure. And like I said, expanding upon Fleabag's relationship, her relationship with the priest is very well done. You understand why these two care about each other, but you also understand the confliction in the priest, because while he clearly does have an interest in Fleabag, his morals very much conflict with that. So he doesn't really know what he wants to do. He doesn't really know how to maintain it either, and I thought they did a very good job with establishing that story as well. Really, everything in terms of writing I thought was very well done. There's a lot of bold directions they take the show that I absolutely adored. In fact, I think the best episode this entire season actually revolves around Claire and the priest, and it's, without spoiling anything, it's basically a full-on one-act play. That's basically the best way to describe it, and I think it might just be my favorite episode in the entire series. I love what they did with this episode. It's so well done, and it really does move forward Fleabag's character in a very exciting way that I love. But like I said, the writing here, it's almost just as well done as it was in the first season, and I really did adore it for sure. In terms of cinematography, this show still does a very good job with keeping up that sort of cinematic type aesthetic. There's nothing truly extraordinary they do in terms of cinematography, but there is this one shot in the fourth episode. It's that same scene I've alluded to with Fleabag that is so well shot, that is so stunning, and they definitely do a very good job with that for sure. There's a lot of great shot composition, especially since, like I said, we are with Fleabag. The point of views and things like that are still very well done, and I was overall impressed by the camera work here. The score plays a big part within this season. We have this recurring sort of motif of this sort of like church choir that plays in the background. It's basically representing just how chaotic and just how sort of melancholy Fleabag is feeling in that given moment, and without spoiling anything, there are times they will actually revert from that, and I thought it was really cool. The music is kind of its own character, and it's indicative of the way that Fleabag is feeling in that given moment, and I thought it actually worked very well. And like I said, it's basically part of Fleabag's character, and I really love the way the score was done here. And the editing, the season is again 6 episodes, and it definitely didn't need to be any longer than that. I think that they did a very good job, similar to the first season, with really just getting into the meat of the story. There really is no time to waste, and that's what I love about this show. Because of the fact that they have 6 episodes, it doesn't feel rushed, but it doesn't feel like they're going to waste on these characters that just aren't that important. I feel like if we had 10 episodes, those secondary characters that they did bring back, they probably would have overstayed their welcome, and I'm glad that they didn't do that overall. So again, while I really do adore this season, I do not think it is as good as season 1. There is one thing that does hold it back, and it really is only one flaw. It really isn't anything really that big, but without getting into anything, there is one plot point in this season involving Olivia Colman's character, and I thought they were going to dive into a little more, and they eventually do, but it's not until the 6th episode when they really do dive into it more, and they start to focus more on this specific plot point. And I thought that because of how prominent it was, I thought that maybe they would do a little bit more, but they really didn't. But now, guys, I really do want to get into spoilers here, because trust me, there is a lot to talk about. So if you haven't seen Fleabag Season 2, I am pretty much going to get into everything. So please just go away, and then once you've seen the season, then we can talk about it. So, of course, the first thing I really want to talk about is the revelation with Claire early on in Season 2. Claire finds out that she is, in fact, having a miscarriage. It's very sad to see, but Fleabag decides to cover for her. She decides that she is going to make everyone think she has this miscarriage. This gets her closer with the priest, because the priest feels like, you know, she already is hurting and he can sort of help her through this revelation, but it also kind of makes her family feel a little bit more resentful of her, which is understandable, but at the same time, you have characters like Olivia Colman, who is just as wicked as she was in the first season, who constantly just makes everything about her, but then is going around telling Fleabag that she makes a production out of everything, which, I mean, she does. This is not something that is, and that's the thing, like, even though we know Fleabag didn't have the miscarriage, it is something that it feels like she would do. Like, of course she would disrupt a family dinner just to announce that she's had this miscarriage, and basically, because of this revelation, though, throughout the season, Claire and Fleabag, they feel a lot more attached to each other. Their relationship is in a much better place. So even moments when Claire is getting angry at Fleabag because of what happened between her and her husband, Claire still feels like she is attached to her. They can't just cut ties completely, and I really did like seeing that. I like the way they expanded upon it, and it gets Claire to realize quite a few things, especially when it comes to the other Claire, which Claire is this guy that is working at her job, who clearly has taken interest in her, and Claire has feelings for him as well, but because of the fact that she is still married, and she hasn't gonna have a relationship with Martin, she doesn't really feel like she can do anything. She feels like she's at a standstill, and I really like that we get to see just how much pressure is mounted onto Claire because of the fact that she has not turned out like Fleabag, because Fleabag is someone who, you know, most of the family, they're not very happy with. They're not really impressed with what she's become. Claire is the opposite. Claire's the person that has a successful job. Claire has, you know, a husband. She was about to be pregnant. But at that same time, Claire does not feel happy with what she has. I mean, she feels like she has this constant need for perfection, especially given when she gets that haircut, which I thought that was a really great moment. It was really funny when she showed up and she had that really short hair. But the fact that Claire is so worried about, not that she's just upset because she has the hair, but she's worried about what Martin is going to think and what her family's going to think. It shows that Claire feels she has to put on this facade of just everything being great in her life and everything being okay. And I like that Fleabag basically tells her, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to feel that way. You can finally stand up to Martin. And I love the moment where she basically tells Martin that she doesn't want anything to do with him. She's done. She doesn't want to stand for this anymore. And the moment I was talking about before with Martin where it seemed like he could possibly be Emmy worthy is that scene where he's basically begging Claire, saying like, I'm not going to leave until you get on your knees. And even though he has been unfaithful to her and he was making passes at Fleabag, he still doesn't want to leave her. And it just shows just how terrible and manipulative a person that Martin is. And the fact that Claire basically finally tells him that's it, I thought was extremely satisfying. And I love the moment where she decides that she is going to go to Claire. She's going to try to stop Claire from going on that plane because she genuinely sees a future with him. She sees a path for them that she didn't see with Martin. Claire is more of what she wants in life. She doesn't feel like she needs to hide who she is anymore, and I really did love seeing that. And the moment that really did get me with Claire is when she's talking to Fleabag and basically tells her that the only person that she feels like she can be honest with is her, and the only person that she feels like, you know, actually cares about her is in fact Fleabag. And it's a really great progress from where we were at season 1, where Claire wanted nothing to do with her, and I really like the way they fleshed out their relationship this season. I thought that was so well done. It was definitely very satisfying there for sure. And the stuff between Fleabag and the priest was also very well done. And here's the thing. The priest as a character, no, we don't know a ton about him. And if they were to bring this show back for like a season 3, that's the one thing I would say they could flesh out more. But we don't need to know anything about him. We know basically, you know, we know the bare minimum of what we need to know about this character. That he is a priest, he's someone that is very committed to his faith, and Fleabag is kind of challenging that. She's telling him that, look, priests can, you know, sleep with other people. It's okay if priests, you know, have sex with other people and things like that. And he has never really thought about these things, but you can tell he has this growing interest in Fleabag. There's something about her that attracts those two together, and I think it's mainly just how open she is with him. The fact that she doesn't hide anything. She tells him straight up, be like, no, I'm not the one who had that miscarriage. And she tells him that she doesn't believe in God. And this is stuff that I don't think he's really felt before. A lot of people, you know, when they confess, they're not brutally honest, but Fleabag is. And the moment that got me the most this season is when she finally accepts Boo's death. And she realizes that she is not really in control of her life. She doesn't really know what she wants. And that she is kind of held back from moving on with her life because of Boo's death, but she can't do that anymore. She cannot feel like she has caused her death. Yes, Boo dying was something that, you know, definitely part of the reason for that was because of Fleabag and what happened with her and her, you know, sleeping with Boo's boyfriend and things like that, but she did not tell Boo to kill herself. That's not something that she should feel guilty for, and I like the fact that she is starting to move past it. I don't think it's something that's ever going to be off her mind, but you can tell that after that episode, she feels a sense of comfort. She finally feels a sense of relief. She's not as worried about anymore, and I really did like the way that was done, and the way things end this season especially was really well done, where basically he tells her that he does want to see her again. No, she can't go back in the church, but he does definitely see a future with her, and it shows that Fleabag finally has someone who understands her, finally someone that she doesn't feel like she's disagreeing with, which, as opposed to someone like, say, Harry, who, as we know, you know, he wanted those two to be completely celibate. He had all these ideas and things that she just was not okay with. He was just simply too perfect of a guy for her, and that's not the kind of person that Fleabag really wants. The priest is much more someone that Fleabag is interested in, and who knows, maybe it doesn't go anywhere. Maybe things don't turn out for these two, but that's not what the season's trying to say. What the season's trying to say is that Fleabag finally feels like she has a path in life, like she finally has some sort of direction, like she can finally move on and not have to put on this facade anymore. That's why this show ends the way it does, because, and I love the moment where, you know, throughout this entire show, we've seen things through Fleabag's perspective, but that, you know, choir music, it's finally gone, and it's replaced with a much more positive sense, because Fleabag finally feels things are going in the right direction. She's on much better terms with her sister. Her sister is now leaving, you know, her horrible husband, she has made things better with her dad, even though her dad is conflicted over whether or not he wants to marry, her godmother. He's still, it seems like those two are on a very good relationship. And we know they didn't really have that much of a relationship before, but they seem to be in much better terms now, which I like seeing. And now she does have a possible future in in form of the priest. And it's just a really great way to close things out. And sure, like I said, there are definitely things they could dive into more, including her father. That was the one thing this season that just did not feel as complete for me. I understand that they want to end the series finale rather, on a wedding, but Godmother and her father, they didn't feel as prominent in the story as they should this season. They definitely were in it enough. I'm not saying they weren't, but I would have wanted a little bit more, just so once we got to that moment at the wedding, that I felt that much more satisfying, that it felt that much more effective. But I did really love the moment where her father basically says, like, he admires her and he wishes that he could do the things that she did. And I thought that was a really great scene when he talks about how he didn't really know if he wanted this wedding to work out, but she realizes that, yeah, she does not have a good relation with her godmother, but those two do love each other. Those two do have a good relationship. And again, maybe things don't work out for them, but I like that she gave him that extra push. It shows that Fleabag, she's learning to not be as self-involved as she once was. She actually is starting to care about other people's feelings, and it's a really great segue into just her finally feeling fulfilled, her finally feeling that sense of comfort and that sense of warmth that she's been clamoring for. And I think it really is a great way to end this series. And though there are things they definitely could dive into in Series 3, I understand why they want to end it here. I think this is definitely the right place to end it. I am satisfied with the way things turned out, and overall, I think they definitely made the right call in doing this, because at this point, Fleabag's story is over. Regardless if you want to continue, Fleabag's story is complete. There is nothing else they really need to flesh out in terms of her story, so I understand why they wanted to end it here, and I think definitely it was the right choice for sure. Overall, guys, Fleabag Season 2 is almost just as good as Season 1. It retains the fantastic performances, especially from Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Sian Clifford, who, like I said, I think really stepped up their game this season. It gives you a much more challenging and satisfying narrative for Fleabag, someone who really is trying to move past all the grief and all just the terrible shit in her life, her trying to maintain relationships, all that stuff is great. Andrew Scott is a really nice addition as well. It ends things in a very satisfying way, and again, while you may be shocked that this is the last season, I think they definitely ended things right. I can see why they ended things on the note they did, and overall, I was very satisfied with how things did turn out here, and I really do hope moving forward that this, like I said, continues to give Waller-Bridge more work. She really is one of the best out there right now. I mean, just her attention to detail, her commitment as this character, and the fact that she wrote this character is basically sort of a more complicated version of herself, I think takes a lot of courage, and I think that alone is enough for reason to really love what she was able to accomplish with this project and what it really has done for Waller-Bridge, who has been put on this very deserving pedestal that I really do hope she continues to work wonders with. I really hope things like Bond 25 and things like that really do work out for her, because I can see her going very far, and this show especially is a very good indicator of why. So overall, I really did adore this season, and I am going to give Season 2 of Fleabag overall an A. So with that, guys, Fleabag Season 2 is now over. Let me know what you guys saw this season overall. Left your thoughts on it. Did you like it more than Season 1? Did you not? Did you like the way the series concluded overall? Is there more stuff? Like I said, there definitely are, I think, more things they could explore, but the way they end things, I think, overall was satisfying, and it definitely is one of the best shows of the year for me so far, and definitely, I think, one of Amazon's most overlooked. I mean, the fact that not everyone in the world is talking about this show is baffling to me. I think it is so masterfully written, and I really do wish it was getting more attention, but regardless, that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching my reviews of this show in both 2016 and this year. Very much do appreciate that, but that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.